It's such a joy to meet you all through this platform. We are all called to disciple the next generation. Why am I saying that? Because the critical need of the hour is that we invest in the next generation, our children, our teenagers. So, our topic for today is, how do you handle teenagers? How do you handle them? Sometimes it becomes very difficult. The teenage years, we always talk about those teenage years as years between mad and madness. That's a statement that I always talk. I always say some of those teenagers, and they would always laugh, especially those preteens, like that 12, 13, 14, and the later teens, that 15, 16, 17. It becomes difficult. Once I was speaking at one of the schools, for parents, and this person came up to me and said, "Sir, I work in software. My wife works in hardware. My children are nowhere." See, that's the whole scenario right now. So, how do we help our teenagers? How do we handle them? So, I want to give you four key principles. These are foundational principles. The first principle that I would say is compassion. Now, when I say compassion, I'm basically saying it's not about me. It's about the ones around me. So in our discipleship journey with our teenagers, with our children, with our young people, I think I'm beginning to see this in my counseling. I'm beginning to see this when I talk to different other parents and teachers. Sometimes some of these teenagers can trigger our insecurities. And when our insecurities get triggered, we begin to fight with them. I always use this principle when I talk to teenagers, and I think it applies to us also. Don't get down to the level of the pigs and fight with them. You will get dirty, and the pigs love it. I'm sorry for using this statement, but I think we don't have to get to the level of some of our teenagers and fight with them. No, we need to be on the top. God has called us to be on the top. One of the first foundational principle is that we need to pray that God would give us compassion. Now, when I say compassion, I know many times teachers and parents and say, I have a lot of compassion, I do things for them, I cook for them and I teach for them. I take some effort, to connect with them. Fantastic. But here I'm talking about compassion more from a place of, even if they don't value me, even if they don't respect me, even if they don't love me, even if they don't reciprocate what I'm trying to do I have that kind of a compassion? And this kind of a compassion has to come from the Lord. I love that verse, that how do you love your wife? It's a beautiful statement that said, just like how Christ loved his church. How did he love the church? He gave himself up on the cross. I know it's not a husband and wife relationship here. It's a child-father, a child-mother relationship, or a child-teacher relationship. But we are called to selflessly give ourselves. Compassion for the wounded is what God expects from us. Many of our children are hurting, especially the COVID generation. They're hurting. Many of our teenagers. I love this verse, in Luke chapter 10. Verse 30 to 37, that's the parable, these verses, it's the parable of the wounded man on the wayside, So when you see that, that whole story. I don't have to explain the whole story, They come in and they go off, and finally there was the Good Samaritan. Now what astounds me is that Good Samaritan not only just stopped. Many times we're living in a generation, living in a culture where there are things that are happening around us and we just walk away. He didn't just walk away, he stopped. He cared for him. And after he cared for him, he takes him and admits him, and he stays there to take care of him. And then it says, when he left, he even paid the innkeeper, saying, if there's anything else more, please take care of it. Oh my goodness, this is going way beyond. So the Good Samaritan, he put his feelings into action. It was not just a feeling. So compassion is not just a feeling. It's something that we show in our real life. That's the kind of compassion that our teenagers are looking for. That's the kind of compassion our young people are looking for. That we are stepping in to show them, saying, hey, sweetheart, I love you. Hey, young person, I love you. Hey, sweetie, I love you. That's the kind of compassion that is in flesh and blood. Now, not when things are going well. I'm talking about a compassion when things are not going well, So the Good Samaritan was ready to engage with the crisis. See, with the teenagers, sometimes when we deal with the teenagers, and especially our own children, me and my wife, we have adopted, 10 kids, and we have 2 kids of our own. We have 12 kids inside the house, and they're all teenagers, beyond teenagers now. It's a difficult journey, very difficult journey. So for us to engage with compassion, especially during crisis situations, I'll give you a magic formula. The magic formula is this. When we engage right with our children during crisis, and that will give them a deposit. You're actually depositing trust in them, and they begin to trust us. It's during crisis. It's not just when everything is going well. No, at those crisis situations, that's when the deposit is done. And I love the Good Samaritan. He was ready to engage with the crisis. He just simply didn't say, oh, I have to go all this way and I can't waste my time. I have a lot of things to do. No. He stopped. He cared. He took him, and he even made sure he was still taken care further. In that place of compassion, I love the statement, like the Samaritan man, it is all about going all the way. He did not stop halfway. We need to persevere in our compassion for our teenagers. That's the key thing that I would put in. See, we are called to live that life of compassion. We are called to walk in that space with our teenagers where we are able to model and exemplify compassion. Now, compassion, I think it's very difficult sometimes. We as parents, as teachers, as grandparents, as caretakers, sometimes it becomes very difficult for us to persevere in that compassion. Sometimes we do it and then we expect them to reciprocate. Some of these teenagers don't reciprocate. Yeah, they don't. Sometimes me and my wife sit and cry. Oh, there are things that we did for this boy. There are things that we did for this girl. But there was no reciprocation. They didn't reciprocate at all. But we both, said, let's kneel before the Lord. We just kneeled before the Lord and said, we did it as unto the Lord. They might understand one day. Slowly now when they're crossing 21, 22, they are beginning to slowly understand the sacrifice that has been made, So for us to persevere in that place of compassion is an important key. The first one is compassion. What's the second place? It's connection. Connection is solving that puzzle of difficult behavior. And I would say this again and again. We should re-script ourselves to see beyond the behaviors. That's the only place we will be able to deal with the teenagers. We should not get caught up with the behaviors. Sometimes it's so tempting, and we are all human beings. I understand that. We get so caught up with the behavior. Why did you behave like that? Why did you show your face like that? Why did you walk yourself like that? Why did you, do this and walk away? See how she behaved. See how he behaved. I know we many a times do that. Many a times we do that. I think we need to come to that place to understand this. We need to connect before we correct. Connection comes before correction. Our primary goal, look at this. Our primary goal is to connect with the Lord and connect with our young people. That's our primary goal. I will never be able to connect with my children unless I spend time connecting with the Lord, because that connection with my children, with my teenagers becomes much easier, and the Lord helps us in that place of connection. So I need to learn to connect with the Lord, and out of that place of security that I begin to connect with my children. Now, what's our secondary goal? Our secondary goal is to walk beside, to have them connect with their Heavenly Father. That's the secondary goal. The first goal is that I connect with him so that I can connect with a teenager. The secondary goal, I walk with them so that they can connect with the Heavenly Father. Now, they connecting with the Heavenly Father is not a push and a pull journey. No, it is not. Some parents pull, come for meetings, come for this, come for that. Some parents push, no, go, please go. I think it's a journey that we walk alongside. We walk alongside with our children. And as we walk alongside with our children, in that moment, as we share several experiences and moments, I think we begin to introduce them to the Heavenly Father. Me and my wife, we did something very special this afternoon, that one of our sons is studying very hard for his 10th exams that's going on, and he's sitting till 1 o'clock, 12:30, studying in, and he gets up early morning at 4 o'clock, sleeps only for 3 hours, 4 hours. And so me and my wife, we have created a basket with some of his favorite things and wrote a letter, and we have put it on the bed. And we have said, sweetheart, Thank you for working so hard. You're just amazing. You see what I'm talking about? It's in our everyday life we begin to see divine appointments for us to connect with our children. That's an important key. That's the important, especially with teenagers. Unless we walk alongside, we will not know, we will not be able to see, we will not be able to discern some of those divine appointments. We have to spend time with our children in this place of connection. We have to connect. I can't say this enough. Connect before you correct. Connection comes before correction. Yes, we have to correct. But connection comes before correction. When you connect with your teenagers, correction becomes much easier. Now, in that place of connection, I would just give you another important principle. Stop using that why question. Why are you doing this? Why are you behaving like this? No, why? It's not the why question, it's the what question. I think we need to learn to ask the what question. What is troubling you? What is making you behave like this? What is going on in your mind when you said that? What was going on in your mind when you said that? What is going on in your mind when you're behaving like this? The what question would be able the teenagers to give some answers. Many times the why. Sometimes the teenagers themselves don't know why they behave. Some of them sulk. I counsel a lot of teenagers on social media, on WhatsApp, and they call me out and all of that, right? And when they always say, I should have not behaved. I don't know why I behaved like that. And the mother is asking the question, why did you behave? Why did you behave? And they don't know why they behaved. They really don't know why they behaved. It's in that place they begin to do it. Disarm the fear responses. Understand the root of all fear responses. I'm telling you this. Connection becomes very difficult with our children, with our teenagers, when there is fear involved. And I'm me growing up from an authoritative family, that's how I grew up. So my initial response in my parenting was fear. Be careful that you don't do this. I'll give you nicely. I'll blast you nicely. That's exactly what it was. But I had to move from that place because, yes, I have to say some things very straight, but I can't bring in fear. Because what happens in fear, in the fear brain, the child doesn't understand the logical and it doesn't have access to the logical part of the brain. In the fear brain, the child doesn't understand what you're trying to explain because he's in the fear brain and it shuts off cortex thinking. I'm sorry for putting my hat of emotional trauma and psychology and talking about it. So when we are talking in fear, the child doesn't understand. Have you seen sometimes there are little children, you say something, you've scolded them so much and they go back and do the same thing? And you're like, excuse me, I just spent about 45 minutes in shouting at you, scolding at you, and you went and did the same thing? Yeah, the child didn't understand. It was in the fear brain. We have to bring them back to that calm brain, in that place of a faith place, not from the place of a fear place. So disarm the fear responses. If you see the child is afraid, maybe some of you are saying, I've seen this several times. Oh, I used to behave like that. I used to behave like this, and now my child doesn't trust me. I have changed, but the child doesn't trust me. It will take time. It will take time. It's not going to immediately the child is going to say, my dad has changed, my mom has changed, so my life has changed. No. It will take time. We have to persevere. We have to keep going on. But what you have to do is to disarm the fear responses. What's one of the best ways to disarm fear responses? Use humor. Use humor. In a very joking way, start saying things. Maybe sometimes you can say the most straightforward things in a very joking way. You need to learn to have that good sense of humor. A good sense of humor, okay? Not the humor that you make a joke and your teenagers are wondering, saying, oh, I have to smile. And they begin to say 1, 2, 3, ha! No, not that kind of a humor. A good sense of humor as you keep walking, as you begin to walk, as you begin to do things, in that place. Fear is a friend for many teenagers. We need to introduce them to a new friend. It's called trust. Now, why do I say fear is a friend for many teenagers? Because they're comfortable in their fear zone. They know they don't want to come out of their fear zone. They're afraid about so many different things that they hold on very tightly. I think we need to move them from the fear zone to the faith zone. So first is that place. First foundation principle is compassion. Second foundational place is connection. The third principle is this. But before that, look at this. We need to be safe, loving, insightful, nurturing, and authentic adults. The past affects the future, but it doesn't determine the future. The past does affect the future. Yes, the way we have responded, the way we have done things. Let's be focused to trade trust for fear. If there's one principle that you have learned in that second foundational principle, connection, is that we have to trade trust. We have to replace faith in the place of fear. That's the only place where connection can happen. What did I talk about compassion? I said persevere in compassion. Now, let's look at the third principle. It's redemption. It is His love that gives and always continues to give. Our God is a nurturing God. He cares and nurtures. He cares and nurtures. Now, we need to comfort our young people sensitively. Now, for me, redeeming children is this, that we are very sensitive to help them deal with some of those issues. We are very sensitive to correct them. We are very diligent to correct them. We are very intentional in how we begin to work with them and walk with them. But I think it's very important that we begin to walk in that place of redemption. What's that place of redemption? That place of redemption is letting the kid know, saying, I know you have done something wrong. We are not saying, oh, you didn't do anything wrong, don't worry about it, and go on, and we hide what is done wrong. No. You have done something wrong, but I'm willing to come alongside and walk with you. I love you no matter what. One of my teenager, he said something 2-3 years ago. I asked him this question. I take them out time to time and I ask this question. You ask one question, I ask one question. I asked him a question saying, how has daddy changed in the last 4-5 years? And he said this, you started making a statement that really gripped my heart. I said, what statement am I making? He said, there was a time I did something very bad and you said, God is not giving up on your life and I'm not giving up on your life. You're very special. God is not giving up on your life and I'm not giving up on your life. I think we need to provide for our young people intentionally. I think that's the place of redemption. We need to be very intentional with our teenagers. With teenagers, intentionality is key. In that place, that if you want to keep redeeming them, we need to encourage our young people consistently and we need to correct our young people diligently. We need to encourage our young people consistently and we need to correct our young people diligently. Why do I say this too? See, sometimes we do encouragements, but we don't do it consistently. I always give this principle. This is another very important principle. Catch them doing right rather than catch them doing wrong. Catch them doing right. Many times we focus on the wrong things that they are doing. And we say, why are you behaving like this? Why are you behaving? See, all the time I said like this, one time he did well, and next time he's behaving like, no, catch them doing right. Hey, I know you messed it up a little bit, but the way you came back and you said sorry, this was just amazing. Catch them doing right rather than catching them doing wrong all the time. So we are very sensitive, in that place. We encourage them intentionally and we correct them diligently. I'm saying correcting them diligently. I want to give you a principle. I wish I had more time. I can just share several principles. But one of the principles is this. Sometimes it's okay to go backwards so that you can move forward in your journey with your children. I'll say that again. Sometimes it's okay to go backwards so that you can go forward in your journey with your children. It's okay to go. What do I mean? Sometimes there are certain things that are not happening so right and you want everything to be corrected and everything to be in that place. Sometimes certain things, just let go. Why? You want to be quiet. You want to be patient. You want to be diligent. So major on the majors. Another principle. Don't minor on the majors and major on the minors. So what are some of the major things that you want to focus on? Major on the majors. What are some of the minor things you want to focus on? Minor on the minors. Sometimes we major on the minors and minor on the majors. So we have to be in that place where we have to be diligent in that place of correction. And in our place of redemption, our young people need a Barnabas-like presence in their lives that is consistent and expressive. See, I want to say this. We need to learn to be expressive, especially in an Indian context. I'm telling you, we are not so much people who express ourselves. No, we don't express ourselves really well. We have to find ways to express ourselves. We need to. So we need to focus on that place. Now, I told you this statement, catch them doing right, not just catch them doing wrong all the time. Just this one principle, if you start doing it, you will begin to redeem your children in amazing ways. I'm saying redeeming, we are not the redeemer, he is a redeemer, but we are a channel that we are able to bring that redemption come to pass in that place of how we begin to do in our relationship. Again, I'm no way suggesting that we are redeeming the way the Lord had redeemed us. No. But in our journey, I'm using that word redeeming them because we want to redeem them from that place of struggle, from that place of sin, from that place of shame. And we want to redeem them. That's the place we want to go in. We need to teach our belief and our convictions we hold dear. We need to teach. We need to teach. We need to teach. See, we need to pass it on. We need to pass it on. If we don't pass it on, it is not going to happen. In our place of redemption, we need to pass it on. And in a place of how we begin to, work things out. Now, I want to leave you with this last principle. It's the restoration. We need to live and we need to understand and teach and live by the things. That's why I use that word, saying catch them doing right in our place. Now, modeling is at the heart of mentoring. The balancing act is this: structure and nurture. We want to restore our children. So structure and nurture is very, very important. So structure means what? Some of the rules and everything you don't want to negotiate. The nurture, we want to care for them. But knowing for the teenagers, so which teenager, how much is nurture and how much is structure? When is nurture and when is structure? That is a very important key. Authentically connecting parents, authentic, I would always say authenticity is I have nothing to prove, nothing to lose, and nothing to hide. That's authenticity, The greatest goal is to be a parent who is a redemptive parent, showcasing the redemptive act of Jesus to our beloved children. So with our teenagers, what's the whole point? The whole point is how we can redeem them and how we can finally restore them back to that purpose of God over their lives. I want to close by just saying this. I grew up in an abusive home. It's much later that I found out that my dad had poured gasoline and burnt my mother alive. My mother was 23 years old. I was just about 16 months, it seems. And he had put me in another room and then, poured the gasoline and burnt my mother. And then my father got married to another lady and she had a baby. Again, I was not there at that time. Later, my stepmom told me of how my dad murdered my stepbrother, did things, and my stepbrother died. It's a very difficult journey that I grew up. A very, very difficult journey. With that difficult journey of abuse after abuse after abuse after abuse, living in poverty, growing up as I'm a compassion child, I grew up as a compassion child. That one meal that I get in the afternoon in school, it was great, but weekends I struggled, in a place somewhere, sometimes you get something, sometimes you don't get something. So I went around as a teenager, you're hungry like a lion, you understand that, right? And I would go around and I would sit and cry and cry and cry for hours together. Now, this is what I want to share with you. Me and my wife both come from very abused backgrounds. Now, in our journey with our children, in our parenting with our children, I'm telling you, the most important journey has been re-scripting our inner script. We re-scripting our inner script. We re-scripting our damaged inner script. We begin to deal with our damage. I think when we change, our children change. One time my wife recently told me and saying, I think children have changed a lot in the way they have responding and the way they are doing. I said, no, the children have not changed. I think we have changed. Because we have changed, the children have changed. It's in that place of redemption that we begin to walk in that place. And I want to finish this, compassion. Our teens, we need to be, our teen-centeredness, not just self-centeredness. In that place of connection, we need to connect before we correct. In that place of redemption, give till it hurts until it hurts no more. That's a principle that I would always give. And restoration, we need to pass it on. Was it an easy journey for me and my wife, or is it an easy journey for me and wife? No, it's not. There are several nights we sit and cry, not because of the children have done certain things, because we struggle to deal with it, because the damaged inner script, sometimes, I want to encourage this, especially when you're handling teenagers. I'm going to do another session, you're going to be in another session. But I'm going to go a little technical there and talk about a few topics dealing with teenagers and all of that. But I want to leave you with this. When you're especially dealing with teenagers, we have to watch ourselves. Very carefully watch ourselves. God's hand is over us. If there is a kid given to us, I believe we partner with the Lord to raise that kid, to raise that boy, to raise that girl. And God will give us that grace, that greater grace. I would always use this word. If God has brought you to it, He will take you through it. If God has brought you to it, He will take you through it. Wherever He leads, He provides. May the Lord help you. May the Lord bless you with everything that you're doing in and all the places that you're walking in. May the Lord bless you. And this journey be an amazing journey. It is an amazing journey, but sometimes it's difficult, but He gives us greater grace. God bless you.